Here we are again on another episode of Chicago Hill. And I'm LaShawn Ford from the west side of Chicago. And it is a sad day in America and the world right here on the west side of Chicago. What about you, Meleika and Mark?
Well, I'm here in Evanston. It's been a lot of controversy here in Evanston with our youth in our school, having to create a safe passageway for our kids because of hate and racism, and the racism around the country and innocent lives lost. It's been very, very heavy on my heart and soul. I told you, Rep. Ford, I've been actually just in tears. I mean, we're constantly hearing about violence here in Chicago and so many things going on, but it's God, like, how much can the soul take? How much can the soul take?
Well, Mark?
You know, something must be wrong if I'm not feeling like I got to jump in and talk over Meleika, which is my usual MO. So, you know, I'm sad and low energy today. The shooting was just horrendous. And, you know, it's hard to say anything about it that hasn't been said already.
Yeah, that's right. And, also before we begin the main discussion, this is also a day that we celebrate our veterans, Memorial Day weekend. So this is I think this is a special show that we're going to have today, that we pay respect to our veterans and the families of the veterans of this country that continue to make us the America that we are and give us the ability to keep fighting to be more perfect as a union.
There's one saying comes to mind always when I'm thinking about that, and that is freedom isn't free. Somebody pays for it, and we just get the benefits. You know, if we're going to talk about veterans, I think we should mention that a huge proportion of the folks going into the military are people of color. I don't know that we ever recognize that fact. Even from the very beginning, we had, even during Jim Crow, we had some of the biggest battles being fought by Black regiments. A lot of people have spilled a lot of blood, but it's not all Caucasian blood.
Yeah, I appreciate you, white man, for recognizing the contributions that other people have made and sacrificed for this great country. You know, women, brown people, Black people, and many times the history tells one side as if we only have these great fighters for this country. And so it's pretty generous of you, but the right thing to do to recognize all people that fight for this great country.
Yeah, yes. Thanks to all of them. Again, being here, coming here as an immigrant or a refugee at 10 years old, I'm not automatically, born in America expecting this. I still consider being in this country a privilege that a lot of my folks back in the country where I came from would love to be able to have right now. Again, freedom isn't free. Living in America isn't free. Just incredibly grateful to the folks who serve for their service.
You know, Meleika, I think that what's amazing, as much as we think about how much better America could be, there's this old saying, we think the grass is green on the other side. But, you know, Mark just said something, that there are a lot of people that would like to be here. And people are fighting to get across the border every day from all parts of the world, because America is the greatest nation on earth. And what makes it so great is the accomplishments that we've made and the structure that's in place to help us become more perfect. And that's why I believe in America. I believe in America. I fly the flag on my house because I believe that even though the founding fathers probably didn't have Black men in mind, probably didn't have women in mind either. We still
they had them in mind.
Oh, right.
They knew they didn't want them right next to them.
That's true. You know,
the Constitution was very much written with Black people in mind.
well, let's be
You
clear.
don't assign 3/5 to somebody's existence without having a very clear picture of what you want to do there.
Well, you know, I'm glad that you made that acknowledgement. You know, people may hear it even more when you say it, because Black people have been saying it for a very long time, Meleika, and sometimes it just doesn't resonate when it's said. It falls on deaf's ear. But you know, you're right. They did have us in mind, but not as a full human. And
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way.
Mm-mm.
And even women also, right, Meleika? I mean,
Right. Women were fighting for rights. I mean, Black women, white women were coming together and, fought for the right to vote. But then Black women were kind of left on their own for anything else. So I don't know. It's like America is this great country that people are like losing their lives to even try to get in. But we do have our issues at the same time.
you know, one issue that we should just jump right into: guns.
Mm-hmm.
America gives us the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment. It's a big issue in America, and it's a great divide in the way people feel about the American right to bear arms.
Mm. Yeah, there was a clip, which I actually didn't pull that clip, with Ted Cruz getting into it with some reporters. And they're saying it only happens in America where there's mass shootings. It's, just mass shootings, and mainly at schools because of the gun laws. And he just kept going back to, you know how many people are trying to get into this country? This is an amazing country. And he just really wouldn't address the question, in regards to the gun laws.
So I'd love to drill down on this a little bit. First, I want to note, as a white man, that I'm actually just beginning to understand and acknowledge sort of the dynamics of the gun debate, if you will, in communities of color. And it's not all sort of, crystal clear. That is to say, if you sort of expect the Black community to be, sort of aligned with the liberals here, that's not always so, because I know a lot of people of color, I know a lot of Black homeowners who are adamant that they need guns in their home to protect their home. And, I don't want to diminish their concerns, but at the same time, who the hell needs an automatic machine gun? You're really not going to use that to protect your home anyway. And so I think there is a place we can all agree. We just don't need machine guns.
Yeah, why would you sell an 18-year-old an AR-15? Just as a gun store owner, or I would question, what do you need this for?
Well, I'll go back, make sure, I want to talk about that AR-15 as well, but we want to make sure that it's clear that Black people, white people, they all want guns to protect their families, or they want guns
Yeah.
to because they enjoy the gun. But yeah, I mean, Black people in communities like Austin, Inglewood, Roseland, they want guns for whatever reason they want them, to protect their families. They love guns, and they have a right to them. And so when you talk about the AR-15, do you know, doing some research, that the 18-year-old that killed 19 students and 2 teachers in Texas, the law allowed him to buy an AR-15, but not a handgun. That's the Texas law. He couldn't buy a handgun, but he could buy the AR-15. And he bought 2 of those rifles a few days after his 18th birthday. That's the law in Texas.
Most places people go out drinking when they turn 21. In Texas, you go buy a gun when you turn 18 and hope to stay alive till you're 21.
Mark, you say you're unpacking the laws about guns, research, and it says under federal law, Americans can buy handguns from licensed dealers. It must be at least 21, which would have precluded the gunman from buying that type of weapon. But the Texas law, which only requires buyers of any type of firearm to be 18 years old. So he would not have been able to buy that in any other state. In fact, in Illinois, there are 6 other states. Illinois is on the list. Only 6 states, Florida, Washington, Vermont, California, Illinois, and Hawaii, have increased the minimum purchase age for loan guns to 21. And so Texas, had they had this law in place that you have to be 21 to buy a loan gun, this killer wouldn't have killed 19 students, 2 teachers, and traumatized America. That's the problem.
And so when you talk to the NRA crowd, the immediate blame is sort of on society and culture and mental health. So let's work through that. If only we didn't take prayer out of schools, if only we didn't have violent video games, if only COVID hadn't, caused additional mental illness and trauma in our young people. These are all excuses that I've heard for this tragedy, and none of them make sense to me. I really love that, Meleika, I really love that clip about, why doesn't this happen in Europe? Well, why doesn't it happen in Europe? Because in Europe, you don't have prayer in schools. It's a very secular public school system with strict separations between church and state. You have the same violent video games that the kids play and the same violent movies. American culture is world culture, and we export this stuff worldwide in addition to whatever they have from home. And they had COVID lockdown too. So the circumstances are the same everywhere. You can't say America is great and then say, well, America is really horrible because the circumstances in this country are so different that we lead teenagers to commit mass murder, and it doesn't happen anywhere. So make up your mind, Ted Cruz, and make up your mind, the NRA, make up your mind, Republicans that are standing in the way of progress, and conservative Democrats as well.
That's right.
And decide, do you say this country is great and mean it, or are you lying? Because if you say this country is great, this shouldn't be happening here. Okay.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to happen.
Why
know-
do they defend it so much? Is it because of the money
The
it
NRA
brings in? Like what I'm trying to understand their rationale, especially hearing these stories of these babies, and they're still defending it.
It's primarily politics. There's a whole section of this country that is, well, look, it's not news to any of us that there's a huge political divide and really a cultural divide between large swaths of this country. And we're separated and divided in a number of ways. One of those ways is your belief in guns and the Second Amendment. And the problem is that everybody has staked out absolutist views. That is, the NRA says, well, if we let them ban assault weapons like they are 15, they're going to come after our handguns next. We're going to encourage them, and ultimately we're going to lose everything. And so that's the view of part of the country, is that the Second Amendment is absolute. It allows us to have whatever weapons we want. And so to me, it's just a matter of time until they start demanding we allow them to buy tanks.
Well, let me ask you, guess who said this? The ability of an 18-year-old to buy a long gun has been in place in the state of Texas for 60 years. And why is it that for the majority of those 60 years, we did not have a school shooting? And why is it that we do now? Who said that? The governor.
Abbott.
Greg Abbott, yeah.
Mhm.
He actually defends the fact that this 18-year-old can actually purchase a long gun, kill 19 students, 2 teachers, traumatize America, and he defends it and not move in the direction. I mean, it's deafening.
And it's even that part is bullcrap, because I mean, they do it so conveniently. They're so good at this by now. They've done it for so many years to try to deflect and outright lie and shade the truth. And the fact is that this is a complete deflection. Notice they didn't say the ability of somebody to buy an assault weapon, a rapid fire extended magazine assault weapon that allows you to mass murder, just like mass manufacturing allows you to manufacture. And here's the thing. A long gun can also be a single shot rifle you used to hunt deer. Okay. I know a lot of people who have rifles who go hunting in the fall, and they have to shoot their bullet, then reload, and shoot again. And there's no way you'd be able to mass murder a bunch of people without that fast firing assault weapon. So Greg Abbott, because he knows he's lying or shading the truth or misdirecting people, said long guns. Well, a long gun is a hunting rifle as well. This is not a long gun. This is a weapon of war and a weapon of murder. It is an assault weapon. And you could tell me that you enjoy shooting targets with it. And yes, maybe you do, but you know what? In the interests of all that is freaking holy, I mean, look at what happened today. Can't you just say, if you're have the tiniest shred of empathy as a human being, can't you at least say, hey, you know what, I will gladly give up my right to have an assault weapon.
Yeah. That's what it's about. The common good.
That's right.
The common good.
That's
It makes
right.
no sense that it's illegal for someone under 21 to buy a handgun or even a beer, yet they can buy an assault weapon. It makes no sense. You know, Meleika?
How do you get rid of Governor Abbott? I mean, I think they need to get rid of him, the chief of the police, all the police officers that were on duty that day.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
How did they get rid? Abbott should be out of office like today, because now he's backtracking. He's like, well, I didn't have all the facts. So, now he's not supporting the police.
Well, I'm with you on Abbott, Meleika. But the police, I don't want to be the defender of anybody in this case, because we lost 19 children. We lost 2 teachers. We traumatized America. And not to mention, one of the teacher's husbands died of a heart attack because his wife was killed.
And the surviving students are traumatized. The little girl that covered herself, she covered herself in blood and played dead to survive the situation. And she had to listen to all her friends and teachers being killed. Like that trauma is with her forever.
Yeah, I want to say, you brought up firing all of the police. I don't know if I can, I think that the investigation should go on. The kids called 911 while the cops waited.
Nine 911 calls.
And
they counted.
Yeah, and the police, they were in the hallway for an hour. But you know what? Here's the thing. If we allow for this to be diverted to the police, then we lose focus of gun control in this country. Those police, there's no doubt they're going to be traumatized, and they're going to be in pain forever, knowing that they couldn't stop that killer from killing 19 students, 2 teachers, and traumatizing the whole world. They're going to be traumatized, but the problem is society. Mark, you brought it up, but it is society. It's our federal government. It's Texas and state laws that allow for this stuff to happen, that put police in these predicaments. If this kid did not have the right to buy that assault rifle, then this wouldn't have been happening, and the police wouldn't have been put in a predicament to be
scared,
responsible for what we're calling, they're almost saying the police are responsible because they didn't stop the killer.
Well, the gun laws are responsible. The governor is responsible. Those police officers, I think, because the town is so small and they don't see much crime in Uvalde, like our police are trained and see on the regular. I think they were scared and didn't know what to do and did not have the training to go in there and handle it the way that they should have. So there's some responsibility there. Ultimately, I think that they were scared.
Well, I think that the truth will come out yet, and there is going to be some investigating that will need to be done. I hope that it's done by people outside of Texas, so that it can be a fair investigation by the FBI or the U.S. Marshal or whoever is going to do it, because I think you can't have people investigating themselves.
Yeah, I can't have, what is it, the hen garden? How does it go? Didn't have the hen garden, I forgot how it goes, the chicken garden, the hen, what, I don't know. You guys should be able to help.
Right, I don't.
The fox garden, the hen house.
There you
go. Right,
that's exactly right. So, here's something else that's grim. Research is clear, and it says that in 2017, guns took over 60 years of cars as being the biggest injury. Base killer of children and young adults ages 1 to 24. In the US, by 2020, about 8 in every 100,000 people die of a car crash. About 10 in every 100,000 people die of gun injuries. I mean, how sacred is this Second Amendment?
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, you bring up car crashes, we'd be a lot safer if we treated guns the same way we treat cars. You know, this guy would have had to get a gun license in
Yeah,
order to go. You know, it's like, you know, why don't we require a written test, a field test like we do for a driver's license? Um, Insurance. Okay. Well, why aren't all these things required for something that can be just as deadly?
it is.
And
Uh,
more thorough background check, because clearly these mass shooters are planning their attacks on social media.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
Like,
not to mention, did we mention that this menace to society actually shot his grandmother in the face?
mm, mm,
You
mm.
know, God, we hope and pray that she that she's able to survive this and be healthy after her recovery. But he actually shot his grandmother in the face that he had the honor of living with, because it appears that his father and his mother didn't want him. So it went with the grandmother. And that's the thanks she get. But, once again, I think there should probably be a class action lawsuit, Meleika, of Texas, because they allowed this.
And his mother said, "Please don't judge me. Don't judge him. He had his reasons."
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
hoping. I'm hoping that was a translation breakdown, because I don't think she speaks English, but that's how the translator translated what she said. And I'm like, I was like, she's in shock. She didn't know what she was saying. She couldn't have understood what she was saying. It's like, what?
She said he had his reasons. Well,
He had his reasons.
absolutely. And reasons don't always have to be good. His reasons were that he was able to buy that gun at 18. That was his reason. If we had protected him from himself, then he would be.
Mhm.
Wait, is he dead?
He's dead.
He's dead. He wouldn't be dead.
Mhm.
Let me ask you guys, and let me give you guys some stats about our state. In Illinois, guns too, we spoke about national numbers, but guns are the leading cause of death of Illinois children ages 1 to 17 years old. Did you hear me? 1,310 Illinoisans, all ages, die by gun violence every year. Between 2015 and 2019, an average of 180 children and adolescents in Illinois and 3,231 children and adolescents across the country were killed by guns every year. But here's where it gets uglier. In 2017, young Black males were 13.7 times more likely to die from a firearm-related suicide than a non-Black male in Chicago. How about that?
yeah. I mean, it's not good at any level. And I think people who, say they have guns to protect themselves, I think that sort of is different than not having a gun and protecting everybody.
Mhm.
I agree, Mark. Yes. Mhm.
Meleika, you talk a lot about mental and behavioral health. We have a lot of discussions about that. Mark, you do too. You work for a
Some psychiatrists, yeah.
yeah. So according to the CDC, nearly 1 in 5 children have a mental, emotional, or behavior disorder, but only 20% of these children receive care from a specialized mental health care provider. Now remember, this killer that killed 19 students, fourth graders, precious grade, precious age, and 2 teachers, and traumatized America and the world, and killed, ultimately, a husband died of a heart attack after his wife was killed. There were red flags with this killer. They knew that he was a menace, and he still was able to buy a gun. I heard you, Meleika, say background checks. What are we going to do about making sure that our young people are protected when they're in school. He was a student. He had an IEP. IEP, an individual education plan. Schools are the first places where children have been identified to have a problem. How did he get out of that school without getting the help that he needed? Well,
Well, let me just say this. I think we are absolutely right to talk about some of this, and these are clearly issues that need to get addressed. I will say that one of the reasons why I'm reluctant to sort of go down this path is because the kids all over Europe and the rest of the world where mass shootings don't happen also have mental health issues. Okay, and so either those countries are so much better at providing services, and we know some of them aren't. I mean, mental health wise, there are a number of issues here. There are obviously red flag laws that should have been triggered. But on the other hand, at 18 years old, you're considered your own primary healthcare power of attorney or whatever it would be called. So the point is that you couldn't force this guy, even if you wanted to, unless you had him committed to a mental health institution legally. You couldn't force him to get mental health treatment, especially after he turned 18. But he was once 10, he was once 11. It's so weird because your mind is trained in a certain way. I remember when my kid got a cell phone, and so I'm thinking to myself, because Meleika said earlier, there were a bunch of calls from the classroom, from the school, from the students. So I was thinking to myself, what is a third or fourth grader doing having a cell phone? And then I thought to myself, well, the same thing that an 18-year-old's doing having an assault weapon. Everything is just so skewed that it's almost impossible to pick it apart. But again, I think mental health is really important. Certainly, it's important to me personally. It's important in my family. And it's almost a misnomer because there is no mental health. There is just health, because the mind and the body are so connected that it's all health.
But can't have one without the other.
Right. But the point is that, if nothing else, if, there should have been, all of his teenage years up to the age of 18 could have been years when there could have been health interventions.
Absolutely. That's what my point is. Schools are the place. And parents, you should know that once your child turns 18, as you heard right here today, I think Mark just said it, that you don't have the authority anymore because they become an adult. Once they turn 18, you lose the power to help them in ways that you once had. So if you see something, say something, get the help that your child needs by going to the school counselor, going to the family physician. If you don't have a family physician, you should have one, because in America, one of the things that Barack Obama, the president of the United States, did, define all odds and all political parties. He gave us all health insurance, especially poor people. Poor people have a right to have insurance in this country, Meleika, because of Barack Obama and the Democrats. Not one Republican voted for it. So whether you like it or not, you could get help for your children. And once they turn 18, you can't get the help that you would like to give them, Meleika.
I feel like, us sitting back and watching the news, I feel like I need a therapy session, because it's hard. It's hard, especially living here, Chicago. You hear all these stories, and I mean, our show, I mean, we actually talk to the people, we talk to the parents. God, I mean, I feel like I need some help, because the soul can only take so much hearing so much darkness and murder and innocent people being locked up and harassed by the police, or uh, it's so hard. It's so hard. And my heart, I can't imagine how a person, the evil that can point a gun at an innocent child, an innocent, defenseless child. Like like, is it mental illness, or are you just bona fide evil? Like, is just Satan in your body? Like, what the hell, man? It just rips my heart. And I've been crying for like 2 days. Just I feel like my soul is tired, and I'm not even involved directly in these situations, but you feel as a human being, it's hard. And yeah, I feel like I need to schedule a therapy session just to cope, because we have to remain strong to speak about these issues. And Rep. Ford, you got to get, you're writing legislation and fighting for the people. So it's like you don't have time to wallow, but God, the soul can only take so much.
Meleika, you said something. I have to write legislation. I think you teed me up for something that I'm going to ask you guys. What do you think? The rationale about a teen's brain isn't fully developed until they're about 25. Studies say that they don't recognize the consequences.
My wife would say that I'm still developing.
Well, I would not agree with her. You're fully developed. I've seen your stomach. And I would say that if a brain isn't fully developed into 25, how can we allow for an 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and a 25-year-old to own a gun? Because remember, they are not fully developed, which means they really don't understand consequences and the long-term effects of their behavior. Should we not only change the laws about 18, 21, but should it be 25? I know that people would say, well, they get to go and they fight the war at this age. They could do that. But, they're under the supervision of the government. Why?
And they're trained.
And they're trained.
They're screened, they're trained. In fact, you get a psychological evaluation when you go into the military, because they want to weed out the people that are just evil, who want to kill and have a legal way to do it.
They say, reading here, it says, in teens' brains, the connection between the emotional part of the brain and the decision-making centers are still developing, and not always at the same rate. That's why when teens have overwhelming emotional input, they can't explain later what they were thinking.
Well, this is an example of sort of lawmaking, and it's obviously not a knock on any particular legislator, representative, but it's an example of how decisions are made. A lot of the numbers that are put into laws are not necessarily scientifically based, or weren't when they put in, and now nobody, so for example, why was the speed limit 55? Was there something particular about that number rather than 50 or 60 that made it the sweet spot? Right now, as you know, Representative, I also work on cannabis issues. And right now there's a conversation about detecting cannabis in a person's system. And you can detect a cannabis in a person's system, but the level at which there is impairment has not been established. Okay, so if you say right now, you get a DUI if you have X amount level of milligrams per whatever in your blood of THC, you're legally intoxicated. Well, you might be legally intoxicated, but you may not be actually intoxicated. So there are all these, in part, it's not an exact science, and you guys have to sort of pick through a bunch of, chaff to get to some wheat as legislators. But maybe it's time to go back, like you alluded to, and rethink some of these things. If we now,
I don't want to cut you, but listen to what you said. You said, why did we change the speed limit? Why did we change this and that? Because we learned that we need to. But damn it, we can't learn that we need to change the gun laws in this country. We can know that these cars, if they go a certain speed limit, that things are going to happen. We know that if you put a seatbelt on, we're going to make seatbelt laws. We know that if you help people get insurance, we're going to have more responsible drivers. All these things that this country allows us to become more perfect, we do, but we make sacred the Second Amendment without giving the true Second Amendment card holders the protections that they need so they can enjoy it to the fullest and keep America safe. I don't get it. And then you got Republicans saying they're pro-life.
Yeah.
Pro-life Republicans, but they continue to watch people get killed.
Yeah, that's the biggest lie there is. You're going to protect fetuses, but not 10-year-olds.
I think, doesn't it feel like more and more people are starting to get to the Republicans, because they're really looking like evil animals right now?
No,
You don't think so?
No, because look, there was Sandy Hook, and there was, before that. I mean, we forget one of the first mass shootings in a school was actually in Illinois. Lori, Dan, and Wilmette. I don't know if any remembers that.
I remember that.
She walked into a school and started shooting because she was obviously mentally ill. But this has been a long time in coming. This is not a new phenomenon. I feel like adults should have learned from this already. And what people have learned is, well, if we admit any culpability or any impropriety with guns, here's going to come the Democrats to take all our guns away. If we give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And that's just so stupid.
Well, we as Democrats, I do believe that we have to be more strategic when we file bills for, gun bills, because it furthers the divide. We need to have a serious conversation. And we're going to have a hearing as the chair of the House Violence Prevention Task Force. The Brady organization, they're going to come and testify before our committee about the best gun laws that we could possibly have. You want to be on that, Mark?
I kind of look like Brady. If I eat a little more, I could, yeah. But so you, Representative Ford, did chair a task force hearing this week. And it was all over the media. And I know you talked about children's mental health and related things. I know this was done with Lurie Children's Hospital. Did having that hearing a few days after the tragedy in Texas give you anything new, either for your mind or your soul, to hold on to that gives us any further hope or understanding? I don't know, maybe it's too complicated a question, but what came out of that hearing that really resonated with you?
The Public Safety and Violence Prevention Task Force hearing that we had in Chicago at the Bellenic Building, it was great to partner with Lurie Children's Hospital and the state of Illinois. What came out of it for me is hope. And there are a lot of people that want to see change. And we realized that the only way we're going to realize that change is if we work at it. We talked about making sure that we prevent people from hurting themselves and hurting others by providing them with the emotional help that they need. Because we know that the killer that killed 19 children, 2 parents, and traumatized America could have been helped. We know that. And he could have been helped. So what came out of it was there's a lot of resources in America to prevent these types of violent acts. They don't have to happen. They really don't have to happen, but they do. We know when people are hurting in our families, and we can help them. The state of Illinois spends billions of dollars to help prevent violence and to make our streets safer, but we're not coordinated in our efforts. The city's not working with the state. The state's not working with the county. The federal government's not working with the state, the county, and the city. So we know that if we could get the administration of the city to work with the administration of the state, we could do some coordination to make sure that we put our resources together and bring all of those stakeholders together in the state of Illinois to help the people and make our streets more safe and to give the people the help that they need. You know, Meleika, you said that some people are born evil. I still don't know if I agree with you, because I believe that there's hope for everybody. And, you know, and I don't know if a fetus coming out as a baby, a human, is evil, then are they, you know, and can they be helped?
I mean, I was going to say, usually these killers show signs early as little ones. I mean, killing animals and, you know, I mean, where would you like really learn to do something? I mean, it's just something in you that could just snuff out a innocent kitten.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's something, it's a spirit in you that, you know, that's just my thought.
Jeffrey Dahmer, didn't Jeffrey Dahmer do things like that? Didn't he kill animals as a child?
They found connection that they all kill animals, you know, very, very young. That's the start. That's the sign.
And look, there are going to be psychopaths, okay? There are going to be people who are certifiably, you know, shown to not have the same kinds of conscious ability to feel bad about doing something. I think we all know it. But even so, I think there are degrees of that, okay? I think there are things that are awful that can be explained logically. So, for example, somebody with a gun shooting into a crowd of people outside a bar, let's say, okay? Well, so generally speaking, you had a fight with somebody in that crowd. You go to your car, you get your gun, and you start shooting at that someone. And of course, you're a horrible shot because you've never practiced at a range in your entire life, and you kill a bunch of people, or you wound a bunch of people, okay? So now I understand at least your misplaced, stupid action, your anger, at least had a logical reason. I mean, it may be stupid, it may be unacceptable, it might be evil and cruel, but at least there is some sense that I was aiming at somebody I at least thought wronged me, okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so there's that kind of shooting, and I see, obviously some of that leads to the gun violence that we see in cities. But that is very different, you know. So for example, having a 15-year-old go hunting with their dad may be right or wrong, you know, killing Bambi, but it is what it is, and there's a reason, etc. But there is no logical, not to even mention acceptable, but there is no logical reason to go kill 19 kids and a couple of teachers. They didn't do anything. They weren't even in a crowd with people who did do something to you, or you perceived did something to you. You know, I mean, the guy was angry at his grandmother and shot her in the face. And you can at least say the guy was angry with his grandmother and he shot her in the face. You can't say the guy was angry at fourth graders and went and killed. So that's, to me, is where I just start to fall apart, because there is evil and then there's evil in like large capital letters. And I do believe, Meleika, that evil, the unreasonable evil, where you're not even reasonably trying to lash out at the people who actually you perceived wronged you. I do believe you're born a psychopath, and you know, at some point that might become clear. So I think this guy was evil, and I'm glad he's dead.
That's a good way to explain it, Mark. Because yeah, there are people who will go out and kill because they feel someone wronged them. That is totally different than someone who's sitting in their bedroom plotting to go kill children. Completely different.
Well, I tell you, I don't care where you're at in this country, what age you are, you need to be captured and you need to be put in jail if you kill someone, or if you have a tendency. See, the reason why I bring this up is because we're stuck in this place where in Illinois and in many countries, we say we shouldn't prosecute juveniles like adults because their mind isn't fully formed. Well, you know what? With all this shooting going on in Chicago, we have to prosecute the juveniles, and we have to keep them locked up until we know that we've helped them. Because to continue to go down the path of allowing juveniles to cause havoc in our city is unacceptable, and we have to change that.
Well, see, this is where I'm to the left of you and probably more black than you, because I actually don't believe juveniles always need to be locked up, in part because I think, you know, and again, maybe we ought to delve into this in a future episode.
Well, don't say I say they need to be locked up if they're dangerous. Remember,
right, I get it.
They're dangerous to themselves and society. We got to get them.
I get it. Here's the part that worries me within that context. When you put them in that detention facility, are we actually helping them? Are they actually getting the mental health treatment that they deserve? Because I'm seeing what our DCFS director has been in contempt of court, 11 or 12 times, because he can't get the right placement for kids with mental health illnesses. Right. So I actually say that we all have some homework to do, because if we put them in a setting, then we actually have to make sure it's a valid and honest to goodness therapeutic setting.
That's
and
right.
So I think even in Illinois, there are things that can happen here. And I would assume some of these things are going to play out next year as soon as the legislative session starts.
Yeah, you know what? I know the time has come, but there are also threats. We got breaking news from the Washington Post that said that now the kid made online threats to kidnap, rape, and kill teen girls. We have to help our kids by any means necessary. Tough love is what it takes. This is Chicago Hill. I'm LaShawn Ford.
I'm Meleika Gardner.
I'm Mark Peysakhovich. Don't be stupid like the shooter.